Welcome all of you for today's session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Sri Ishopanishad by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Mantra 11. Vidyam cha vidyam cha yaha tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mritamashnute. Word to word meaning. Vidyam, knowledge in fact. Cha, and. Avidyam, nescience. Cha, and. Yaha, a person who. Tat, that. Veda, knows. Ubhayam, both. Saha, simultaneously. Avidyaya, by culture of nescience. Mrityum, repeated birth. Tirtva, transcending. Vidyaya, by culture of knowledge. Amritam, deathlessness. Ashnute, enjoys. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Purport. Since the creation of the material world, everyone has been trying to attain a permanent life. But the laws of nature are so cruel that no one has been able to avoid the hand of death. No one wants to die, nor does anyone want to become old or diseased. The law of nature, however, does not allow anyone immunity from old age, disease, or death. Nor has the advancement of material knowledge solved these problems. Material science can discover the nuclear bomb to accelerate the process of death, but it cannot discover anything that can protect man from the cruel hands of old age, disease, and death. From the Puranas, we learn of the activities of Hiranyakashipu, a king who was very much advanced materially. Wanting to conquer cruel death by his material acquisitions and the strength of his nescience, he underwent a type of meditation so severe that the inhabitants of all the planetary systems became disturbed by his mystic powers. He forced the creator of the universe, the demigod Brahma, to come down to him. He then asked Brahma for the benediction of becoming Amara, by which one does not die. Brahma said that he could not award the benediction because even he, the material creator who rules all planets, is not Amara. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 17, Brahma lives a long time, but that does not mean he is immortal. Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. This cunning gentleman, Hiranyakashipu, was interested in these two things, money and women, and he wanted to enjoy them by becoming immortal. He asked from Brahma many benedictions in hopes of indirectly fulfilling his desire to become immortal. Since Brahma told him that he could not grant the gift of immortality, Hiranyakashipu requested that he not be killed by any man, animal, god, or any other living being within the 8,400,000 species. He also asked that he not die on land, in the air or water, or by any weapon. In this way, Hiranyakashipu foolishly thought these guarantees would save him from death. Ultimately, however, although Brahma granted him all these benedictions, he was killed by the personality of Godhead in the form of Narasimha, the Lord's half lion, half man incarnation, and no weapons was used to kill him, for he was killed by the Lord's nails. Nor was he killed on the land, in the air, or in the water, for he was killed on the lap of that wonderful living being, Narasimha, who was beyond his conception. The whole point here is that even Hiranyakashipu, the most powerful of materialists, could not become deathless by his various plans. What then can be accomplished by the tiny Hiranyakashipus of today, whose plans are throttled from moment to moment? Sri Ishopanishad instructs us not to make one sided attempts to win the struggle for existence. Everyone is struggling hard for existence, but the laws of nature, material nature, are so hard and fast that they do not allow anyone to surpass them. In order to attain a permanent life, one must be prepared to go back to Godhead. The process by which one goes back to Godhead is a different branch of knowledge, and it has to be learned from revealed Vedic scriptures such as the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. To become happy in this life and attain a permanent blissful life after leaving this material body, one must study this sacred literature and obtain transcendental knowledge. The conditioned living being has forgotten his eternal relationship with God and has mistakenly accepted the temporary place of his birth as all in all. The Lord has kindly delivered the above mentioned scriptures in India and other scriptures in other countries to remind the forgetful human being that his home is not here in this material world. The living being is a spiritual entity and he can be happy only by returning to his spiritual home. From his kingdom, the personality of Godhead sends his bona fide servants to propagate this message by which one can return to Godhead. And sometimes the Lord comes himself to do this work. Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge, and a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradhama, the lowest of human beings. The path of avidya or advancement of material knowledge for sense gratification is the path of repeated birth and death. As he exists spiritually, the living entity has no birth or death. Birth and death apply to the outward covering of the spirit soul, the body. Death is compared to the taking off, and birth to the putting on of outward garments. Foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya, nescience, do not mind this cruel process. Enamored with the beauty of the illusory energy, they undergo the same miseries repeatedly and do not learn any lessons from the laws of nature. We will continue to read the purport in the next session. Now we will discuss the first part that we read just now. So today we are beginning to discuss the 11th mantra of Sri Ishopanishad. The theme of this mantra and the previous two mantras has been Vidya versus Avidya, knowledge versus nescience. Now, we have seen in the previous two mantras that By cultivating vidya, one kind of result is obtained, and by cultivating avidya, another kind of result is obtained. It is already told in the mantra 9 that those who are cultivating nescience, they are preparing themselves to enter the deepest, darkest region of this material existence. In other words, they get degraded to lower forms of life where there is no opportunity to cultivate knowledge, just like animals or trees or any of those lower species of life. So, if we want to save ourselves from repeated birth and death, Ishopanishad is suggesting that we should take the path of Vidya. We should cultivate spiritual knowledge. Now, spiritual knowledge has to be cultivated by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. This we have discussed several times, and in the previous session also we have discussed this. Now, continuing in the same understanding, same theme of Vidya versus Avidya, this mantra 11 is telling us Vidyam cha avidyam cha yastat vedo bhayam saha. Vidya means knowledge, avidya means science, tad vedaha, vedaha means to know, tat means that, yaha means a person, ubhayam means both. So a person is expected to know both vidya and avidya. That means he is expected to know the difference between vidya and avidya. One should know what is vidya and what is avidya, right? That means one should not mistake vidya to be avidya and avidya to be vidya. For that, you should be knowing the difference between both knowledge and nescience. If somebody assumes nescience to be knowledge and dedicates his whole life and time and energy to cultivate nescience, thinking that it is knowledge, then such a person's valuable human life is simply wasted. Now, that is what is unfortunately happening to more than 95% or 99% of the people in this world currently. Currently, people are thinking if I simply cultivate knowledge about matter, if I become a graduate or a double graduate, or if I do some research in the field of material science and become acquainted with the laws of this material nature, material world, then I will become a learned person. Then I will be a learned person, and this knowledge will help me in my life. But as we have discussed several times before, this material knowledge may afford you a job. It may help you to earn a livelihood. But what to do with your life, that material knowledge cannot teach you. What exactly you should be doing in this human form of life, how meaningfully you should lead this you will not be able to learn simply by understanding how material nature works. So, therefore, people currently who are enamored with this material knowledge, thinking that it is Vidya, so they are actually bewildered. They are stuck in the cycle of birth and death. And that is why Lord Krishna, taking compassion upon all his parts and parcels, all of us who are struggling here in this material world, he comes time and again as different incarnations, or he sends his different representatives, his pure devotees, confidential associates, to preach real Vidya in this material world. As the Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, there is no shortage of anything in this world except for Krishna consciousness. The only thing that is of short, that is shortage in this material world, is spiritual knowledge and the practice of this spiritual knowledge. There is nothing which is lacking. All material facilities, everything is there. Right from an ant up to a huge elephant, whatever is required for every living entity's sustenance, the Lord has made arrangement. But we see scarcity of resources. That is not because of a shortage or a problem in the Lord's arrangement. That problem is because of the mismanagement of people. It is a human created scarcity. So there is no scarcity actually in this material world of any material resources. There is only scarcity of vidya, of spiritual knowledge. So here, this mantra is telling us, uh, vidyam cha avidyam cha yaha tad vedo ubhayam saha. Ubhayam means both vidya and avidya, one who knows what happens to that person. Avidyaya mrutyum tirtva vidyaya amrutam ashnute. So what happens when a person learns the process of both nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side, then he can transcend the influence of nescience, which is nothing but repeated birth and death, and he can enjoy the full blessings of amrutam, means immortality, which is the result of cultivating vidya. So that means we must know simultaneously both Vidya and Avidya. What is the meaning of this? Why should we know simultaneously both Vidya and Avidya? It means we should know the effect of both. How both Vidya and Avidya affect us, we should know this, right? How Avidya or ignorance binds us to bodily concept of life, how it conditions us to material activities, how we become a victim of kama, krodha, lobha by becoming a student of avidya. We should know this. That means we should know the process, how we are getting bound in this material world. And at the same time, we should also know the effect of cultivating vidya, how by cultivating transcendental knowledge, we can become free from the slavery to our senses. We can become free from the slavery to lust, anger, greed. How we can become truly liberated, this we have to understand. So when one understands both, then one will develop a determination to give up his attachment to the cultivation of avidya and becomes interested in cultivating vidya. In this way, one actually becomes saved from being repeatedly born and repeatedly uh, dying. And one attains amrutam, amrutatva, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, amrutatvaya kalpate. One can attain amrutatva, means what? The state of immortality. Amrutyu, mrityu means death. Amrut, amruta means the state of not being subjected to death. Now, this is a desire of everyone in this world. No one wants to die. But people think that by mechanical arrangements we will avoid death. That is the fault. Now, that is never possible. That is never going to happen because the laws of nature are very stringent, right? So, there is a different way to attain this amritatva or immortality by altogether giving up this material consciousness and awakening our Krishna consciousness. It is possible to attain amritatva. Now, this is the Upanishad Vakya also, right? We hear this many times. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya, right? Asatoma Satgamaya. What is the meaning of this? Don't be attached to Asat, become attached to Sat. Enter into Sat. That means become attached to Sat. May your mind be attached to Sat, not to Asat. Asat means temporary body, temporary material pleasures. That is Asat. Sat means permanent pleasure, spiritual pleasure. Sat means soul. Asat means body, right? So asato ma means don't. Asato ma sad gamaya. Gamaya means enter into. Let your mind have gamana on sat, not on asat. Then tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. Don't be attached to tamas, darkness of ignorance. Enter into uh, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Jyoti, enter into the light of knowledge. Cultivate spiritual knowledge. Human life is a golden opportunity to cultivate spiritual knowledge. And then if you do this, then the result is Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. You will be able to come out of the shackles of birth and death, and you will enter into Amrutatva, eternal life full of knowledge and bliss in the spiritual world. So Prabhupada is giving an example of Hiranyakashipu. Now Hiranyakashipu, he was a materially advanced person, very powerful. He had performed tapasya, pleasing Lord Brahma to get his benedictions of becoming very powerful, and he wanted to actually become immortal, right? As everybody wants to become. Why people want to become immortal? Because those who are attached to material pleasures, they know that this body is going to end one day. So if I make all arrangements for sense enjoyment, and if my body falls because of death, then how can I enjoy my sense gratification? So the materialistic people see death as a obstacle for their program of sense gratification. And Hiranyakashipu is a perfect example of such a person who is fully absorbed, interested only in sense gratification, which is suggested by his name itself, as Srila Prabhupada writes here. Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. So this cunning gentleman, Prabhupada says, this cunning gentleman, Hiranyakashipu, was interested in these two things, money and women. That means he is interested in Hiranya, gold, wealth, and Kashipu, soft bed, enjoying the company of the opposite gender, sense pleasure. So this is the plan of everybody, all materialistic people. This is their plan. How to get wealth and how to satisfy my senses to the maximum extent. This is Hiranyakashipu. That means those who are interested only in these two things, they are actually descendants of Hiranyakashipu. They are followers of Hiranyakashipu. So he did tapasya to become immortal because I want to enjoy Hiranya and Kashipu without any obstacles. Forever I want to enjoy. No one should create any obstacle for my sense enjoyment. This is the thinking. So therefore, he was suggested by Shukracharya to perform tapasya. And he did tapasya to please Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, when he came, he asked, what do you want? He said, I want to become immortal. Right? We all have heard this story many a times. It is described in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. So when Brahma heard that Hiranyakashipu wanted to become immortal, Brahma gave an immediate reply. Oh, I'm very sorry, I cannot make you this because I am myself not immortal. How can I give you something which I don't have? Right? So from this we understand, it verifies the statement of Lord Krishna in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, even if you go to the topmost planet within this material universe called Brahmaloka, there also you will see the residents are not free from birth and death. Even if you go there, you have to take birth again. So Lord Brahma is confirming this statement. He's saying, I am also not free from repetition of birth and death. Right? So Lord Brahma actually belongs to Jiva Tattva, the one within the universe who has got maximum pious credits, who has got maximum purity. He is elevated to the post of Lord Brahma. And in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is described as Jagadanda Koti, Jagadanda Natha. Jagadanda Natha means he is the Natha, the master of the Anda, the egg-shaped Jagat universe. So from this we understand the universe is egg-shaped according to the Vedic cosmology. So and for each universe there is a Jagadanda Natha, there is a master. He is called Brahma. And this Brahma does the secondary creation. What does secondary creation means? The primary elements that are required for the creation of the planets and the bodies of the individual living entities. Those basic ingredients are coming from Mahavishnu. And Lord Brahma, what he does is he manipulates this material elements and creates the planetary systems, and he also creates the bodies of the individual living entities. So Brahma is called secondary creator. So he can be better called as an engineer. Engineer is one who manipulates matter, who knows the laws of material elements and properly manipulates and mixes them and creates new items, isn't it? Manufactures. So Prabhupada calls Brahma as an engineer. So he is called secondary creator. So even this Brahma, who is very powerful, who has got a predominance over an entire universe and all the planetary systems within that universe, even that Brahma is not immortal. What is the understanding from this? As long as we have got this material body, we cannot attain immortality. That is the conclusion. The body, material body, imposes this limitation called mortality on the soul. Actually, the soul is immortal, right? Krishna says in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, "Na jayate mriyate va na kadachin." So the soul does not take birth, nor does he die. This is the actual position of the soul. But when the soul desires to enjoy independent of the Lord, he is given a material body among different, one of the 84 lakh species of life. The moment the soul accepts this material body, one limitation called immortality is imposed on the soul. So as long as we have this material body, it is not possible to experience immortality. The limitation called mortality, I'm sorry, limitation called mortality is imposed on the soul as long as the moment we accept a material body. Now, Hiranyakashipu wanted to attain immortality retaining his material body. And Brahma said, no, it is not possible. Even I have a material body and I can also not attain immortality in this state. So, then what is the way to attain immortality? The way to attain immortality is to come back to our original consciousness. We have to give up this material consciousness. Material consciousness means what? I am independent and I am the center. I have to enjoy. Everything is meant for my enjoyment. How to exploit the natural resources for my own enjoyment. This is material consciousness. This is called lording over tendency. So the moment, as long as we have this lording over tendency, this is called material consciousness. We will remain in this material world. So if you want to get out of this material consciousness, that means we have to give up our lording over tendency. So that is what the whole point in Krishna consciousness is. Jiver Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. That is the first point. We are not the body, we are spirit soul, and our Swarupa is that we are eternal servants of Krishna. Krishna is the master, I am not the master. Krishna is the Lord, I am not the Lord. I have to serve Krishna according to his plan, his instructions. I have to surrender to him. So when we cultivate this consciousness, this is called Krishna consciousness or spiritual consciousness. So only when we develop the spiritual consciousness, we can become immortal. We can become free from this material cycle of birth and death, and we can enter into the spiritual world, where we can lead an eternal life full of knowledge and bliss in the association of Krishna. So this is the way to attain immortality. The knowledge about attaining immortality is called Vidya. That knowledge which puts us back into the cycle of birth and death, reinforces our bodily concept of life. That knowledge which provokes lording over tendency, that is called avidya. So we need to know what is vidya, what is avidya, and what are its effects on us. So we have to cultivate this vidya, spiritual knowledge, which is explained elaborately in the Vedic scriptures and which is explained by bona fide spiritual masters coming in the Parampara system. And then we will be able to attain Amritatva or immortality, which is actually the purpose or the goal of human life. So we will continue to read. There are many more interesting things that Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport. It's a long purport. We will read in the next session and discuss more. Thank you very much for your time. Shri Ishopanishad ki jai. Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.